This is absolutely the most arrogant bank robber in history. While all his subordinates were slaughtering people inside the bank, he was leisurely smoking a cigar at a coffee shop right across the street, right in front of the police chief. The SWAT agents guarding the door quickly raised their guns to aim. However, the robber boss, John, remained calm. He then casually walked away but was blocked by the agents. Faced with the threat from the robber boss John, the SWAT agent standing guard could only obediently step aside to let him pass. At this moment, arrogant John put on his sunglasses. Even the helicopter circling overhead, the snipers lying flat on the walls, and hundreds of fully armed SWAT agents on both sides of the street did not catch his eye. He blatantly walked inside the bank that was surrounded on all sides. It turned out that Z's subordinates had taken dozens of hostages beforehand. Each hostage had 20 pounds of plastic explosives strapped to them along with 15 pounds of stainless steel bearings. If a hostage left the bank, the bomb would immediately explode. To prove that what he said was the truth, Z ordered his subordinates to take a hostage outside to demonstrate. The police chief, with a tough attitude, immediately ordered the sniper to prepare to fire. Although the black agent in charge of negotiations tried his best to stop it, the police chief thought the robbers were just bluffing. Taking advantage of the moment the black agent was communicating with John, the police chief seized the opportunity to order an assault. The sniper on the roof decisively fired, taking down the robber escorting the hostage. The terrified female hostage tried to run back to the bank, but she was grabbed and pulled back by the SWAT agents rushing up to rescue her. The hostage screamed miserably and did not want to leave, but the SWAT agents, not understanding the situation, forcibly took her away with the help of teammates. But in the very next second, the bomb on her body exploded. The shockwave from the violent explosion, along with thousands of steel bearings with a 1 centimeter diameter, immediately turned the street around the bank into a living hell. Dozens of SWAT agents were blown away by the shockwave, and in the blink of an eye, they were riddled by the steel bearings like a hornet's nest. In just a few short seconds, the bustling street was instantly blasted into a ruined city. At this moment, a bloody steel bearing rolled in front of the handsome guy. An innocent bystander swept into this incident who was about to become the main character of the entire case. Time rewinds to 4 days earlier. A top hacker from Finland suddenly appeared at Los Angeles airport. The man, named Stanley, was currently wanted by the U.S. government for hacking into computer networks. Although he used a fake passport, his true identity was still uncovered by customs. Before he could step out of the security checkpoint, he was captured by the FBI. However, after being arrested, Stanley did not give up. He immediately hired a famous lawyer and deliberately used a foreign language to avoid FBI interrogation. This proved that the purpose of Stanley's trip was not simple. Therefore, the black deputy director, while continuing the interrogation, physically shoved and coerced Stanley's lawyer out of the interrogation room. He then pulled out a gun to introduce himself to Stanley. He used to lead the country's largest anti-cybercrime task force. Later, because a suspect feigned madness, he shot through that suspect's palm. From then on, that man could never use a computer like before. Unexpectedly, the black agent's threat had no effect, because Stanley knew clearly the methods of the boss behind this affair. If he said another word, he would be killed a few days later. But he underestimated his opponent's power. Right while the black agent was interrogating Stanley, an assassin sent by the boss was already in the observation room next door. The assassin called the black agent's desk phone in the name of the police chief, successfully tricking the black agent into leaving. With Stanley left unguarded and completely relaxed, drawing all sorts of things on the one-way mirror of the interrogation room, he didn't expect death to arrive. The assassin quickly fired, shooting Stanley straight in the head. Even the lawyer standing nearby suffered the same fate. At this point, the black agent realized something was wrong. He threw down the phone and immediately turned back. But in the interrogation room, only 2 corpses remained. In another development, the handsome guy, a top hacker who had just gotten out of prison and was playing golf on his roof, also received an uninvited guest. This woman, named Ginger, not only had a hot, seductive body but also understood the handsome guy's background and history clearly. She wanted to invite the handsome guy to meet her boss and promised that for just one meeting, she would pay him a generous fee. Faced with Ginger's softness and persistence, the handsome guy still politely refused because he had been warned by the FBI, if he used a computer, he would be arrested and thrown in jail again. "Have you seen Holly lately?" Hearing Ginger say his daughter's name, the handsome guy immediately changed his expression and kicked her out. His daughter was his greatest weakness. A few years ago, because he was sent to prison, his wife took their daughter and remarried an adult film director, and thus he lost custody of his daughter. Over the past 20 months, the handsome guy had applied to the court 6 times, but each time was rejected simply because he had no money. And all of these circumstances were fully grasped by Ginger. She handed the handsome guy a folder containing exactly $100,000. Seeing such a large amount of money, the handsome guy was moved. The boss behind the scenes he was about to meet was Z. On the outside, he was just a middle-aged tycoon immersed in lust and enjoyment. Every day, if he wasn't picking up girls, he was on his way to pick up girls. However, all of that was just a lie. His true identity was a top assassin. John, surrounded by a dozen beautiful girls, had just sat down in a private room when, a few minutes later, Ginger brought the handsome guy in. John enthusiastically invited the handsome guy for fine wine, but the handsome guy understood that the opponent's purpose was certainly not just for a simple drink. Z didn't say much nonsense, he signaled a blonde girl to sit next to the handsome guy. Immediately after, he ordered his subordinates to bring a computer. The screen displayed the gateway to a national defense database encrypted with 128-bit code. Even for a top hacker, breaking the code would take at least an hour. But John demanded the handsome guy finish decoding it within 1 minute. The handsome guy intended to refuse, but unexpectedly, the large bodyguard behind him immediately restrained him. At this moment, Z increased the difficulty for the handsome guy. Not only did the beautiful girl next to him bend down to tie his shoelaces, but the subordinate's pistol was also pointed straight at his temple. Facing double the psychological and physical pressure, the handsome guy finally hesitated no more, his hands typed on the keyboard furiously like an engine. But after several attempts, the system still denied access. Z, sitting nearby, also began to count down. At this moment, the handsome guy rubbed his hands together with force, finally displaying the hand speed he had painstakingly practiced during his 3 years in prison for everyone to see. But when he pressed enter, the system still denied access. Seeing this, Z told the subordinate to pull the trigger, but a surprise occurred. It turned out the gun had no bullets, it was all just a joke by John. But the handsome guy did not disappoint everyone. They saw him press enter, and the National Defense Database encrypted with 128-bit code granted access. Z was insanely happy. This time he had finally found the right person. Afterwards, he took the handsome guy to his luxurious villa. A supercomputer connecting 7 screens had been installed there. He invited the handsome guy with only one goal: to write a computer supervirus capable of breaking 512-bit encryption systems. As long as he succeeded, he would receive $10 million in remuneration. But the handsome guy still had many worries. So Ginger bent over and performed a demonstration for him herself. Under the double temptation of money and beauty, the handsome guy quickly completely lost his way in Ginger's tenderness. The black agent on the other side did not sit still. By comparing surveillance cameras at Los Angeles airport, 2 passers-by who witnessed Stanley being arrested also picked up the handsome guy from prison just 2 hours later, the man he personally put in jail. Within 1 day, 2 of the world's top hackers appeared in Los Angeles. There must be a hidden conspiracy. The black agent was convinced that the handsome guy would go to his ex-wife's house to visit his daughter. So, he ordered his subordinates to monitor the ex-wife's house. Sure enough, the next day, the handsome guy drove Ginger's sports car to secretly pick up his daughter for an outing. But as soon as he brought his daughter back to her father, an FBI agent watching nearby quickly sat in his passenger seat. The handsome guy hurriedly turned around and recognized the black agent, the one who put him in prison, sitting in the back seat. Unexpectedly, before the work had even started, he was being watched by the FBI again. So, he pretended to admit defeat and then suddenly knocked out the big agent. He drove the car and smashed hard into the black agent's police car. Immediately after, he jumped out of the car and ran to escape. Unexpectedly, after running a few steps, he reached the edge of a cliff. Without time to think, the handsome guy quickly climbed over the barrier and jumped down the steep slope of more than 60 degrees in front of him. The black agent chasing behind was also fearless and jumped after him. The huge inertia caused both of them to roll quickly like balls. The handsome guy was a step faster in regaining his balance, but before he could rejoice for 2 seconds, he crashed straight into a police car blocking the road driven by the black agent's subordinates. The black agent behind immediately fired a warning shot. The handsome guy knew there was no escape, so he had to surrender. The black agent angrily dragged the handsome guy to the car. He shouted loudly, questioning why the handsome guy ran away, nearly causing them to be smashed to pieces on the beach. It turned out they only came to ask about the situation and had no intention of arresting him. But the experience of being arrested before still made the handsome guy resentful, so he refused to reveal anything. The helpless black agent could only tell the handsome guy about Stanley being silenced and gave him a business card, instructing him to call immediately if anything happened. However, when the handsome guy returned to John's villa, he suddenly discovered a listening device hidden in Ginger's clothes. He immediately closed the room door. Ginger, alert, also pulled out a pistol. At this moment, Jay's voice suddenly rang out from outside the door. Ginger reluctantly had to reveal her identity as an undercover agent for the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA. She assured the handsome guy that her target was only Z. As long as he finished writing the computer supervirus soon and left with the money, Z's case would have nothing to do with him. Just as she finished speaking, John walked in. John called the handsome guy out the door alone. The handsome guy's eyes before leaving held even more hidden meaning. The two went to a coffee shop located in the city center. Here, John revealed the entire plan to the handsome guy. It turned out that in the early 80s, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, in order to collect evidence of money laundering by drug cartels, secretly launched a special operation codenamed SWF, Swordfish. They set up many shell companies within a year until the operation ended in 1986. The accounts of these companies collected more than $400 million, and this money was not confiscated but remained in the accounts, continuing to generate profit. To date, the balance has exceeded $9.5 billion. They only needed to use the computer supervirus to breach the bank's firewall to easily steal this huge sum. But the handsome guy poured a bucket of cold water on him. Because the server could only be accessed at banks possessing the main network line. Finding them was almost impossible. However, John calmly told the handsome guy to look out the window. It turned out that directly opposite the coffee shop was the World Bank, the place that housed that very main network line. In another development, through tracking the handsome guy continuously for 2 days, the FBI also gradually discovered more clues. The people in contact with the handsome guy looked like famous figures in high society, but just by looking at their walk, one could recognize they were all former military personnel. Moreover, inside their villa, they were equipped with 2 super broadband cable lines that only banks had. Judging from the powerful heat radiating from inside, the room was certainly equipped with high-performance mainframe computers. Z, with his strong aura, also quickly caught the black agent's attention through his behavior and gestures. The black agent was certain that this person was the mastermind of the entire gang. To clarify all the mysteries behind this group, he immediately ordered his subordinates to investigate Z. Immediately, the information that John was being investigated by the FBI reached the ears of Senator Robert. He immediately called Z. It turned out that Z's true identity was actually a subordinate of Robert. And Robert was the real mastermind behind this operation. To avoid Z's identity dragging him down, Robert ordered Z to cancel the operation immediately and go abroad to hide temporarily. However, Z at this moment was like a wild horse escaping its stable. He bluntly refused Robert and declared the operation would proceed as planned. John's betrayal made Robert feel greatly threatened. So he ordered his subordinates to strike first to silence John. On another side, the work of writing the computer supervirus by the handsome guy also made great progress. By downloading a virus program suite he wrote in college, the handsome guy successfully upgraded it into the latest firewall decoding program. Just as he prepared to drink a celebratory toast, he discovered the fine wine in the bottle had long run dry. Fortunately, there was still plenty of stock in Z's wine cellar. As the handsome guy was holding the empty bottle to search thoroughly, he suddenly discovered a body, and the dead person was Z. Terrified, the handsome guy quickly left the wine cellar, but as soon as he went upstairs, he was almost scared to death. Seeing the handsome guy terrified, the cunning John immediately guessed his thoughts. He drove a sports car to take the handsome guy for a ride and told him that in this world, there is something called misdirection. Like a magician making an elephant disappear into a crowd for no reason. Sometimes what the human eye sees is not the truth. At this moment, Z suddenly detected a car following them via the rearview mirror. Z immediately shifted gears and accelerated, speeding through an intersection that had turned red at over 200 miles per hour. Although causing chaos, the chasing car behind was still not shaken off. So Z told the handsome guy to control the steering wheel, while he immediately pulled the handbrake. Then he stood up and pulled out two guns. The moment the chasing car overtook them, he simultaneously took down the drivers of both cars. The SUV tracking them went airborne the very next second. Immediately after, the handsome guy drifted the car and stopped. Z quickly got out and opened the trunk. Inside was a large machine gun. At this time, two other assassin cars quickly rushed in, and Z had also finished loading the ammo. After a high-speed sweep, the assassin reinforcement cars immediately exploded in a sea of fire. Z dragged the assassin who had been shot full of holes out. Sure enough, it was Robert's subordinate. Realizing there wasn't much time left, Z gave the final ultimatum to the handsome guy. He had to complete writing the entire computer supervirus within 12 hours. The next day, John took a helicopter to find Senator Robert, who was fishing in a nature reserve. He didn't say any unnecessary words, just one shot sent him to eat a boxed lunch, killed him. The handsome guy also did not disappoint him. By noon the next day, he handed the floppy disk containing the completed program to Z. Z also kept his promise and called the Swiss bank. The $10 million remuneration was transferred to the handsome guy's personal account. To entice the handsome guy to complete the remaining work, Z finally revealed his true identity to him. It turned out they were all members of a Jewish revenge organization. Dissatisfied with the weak and unbearable foreign policy of the U.S., they decided to take matters into their own hands to wage war against America's enemies. And the huge sum of $9.5 billion was their first war fund. At this moment, the handsome guy realized Z wanted to forcibly seize the bank by force to connect to the internal main network line. So the handsome guy, not wanting to aid evil, quickly pulled the power cable and escaped. But the subordinate intending to chase was stopped by John because he knew the handsome guy would definitely return. Sure enough, when the handsome guy arrived at his ex-wife's house, he discovered both of them had fallen in a pool of blood, and the daughter the handsome guy loved most had also disappeared without a trace. This was clearly Z's doing. The handsome guy, cornered, had no choice but to call the black agent. Meanwhile, Z had led a convoy of Hummers storming into the World Bank they had scouted earlier. And he quickly controlled all the employees inside the bank. Next, he put a specially made bomb vest on every hostage. Then, he began the standoff with the police. However, due to the police's misguided command, the bomb on one hostage exploded on the spot. Dozens of SWAT agents died at the scene. After the explosion, Z immediately demanded the police prepare a plane for them within 25 minutes. Then they would retreat to the airport by bus. The police, with heavy casualties, dared not act rashly anymore and could only temporarily meet all of John's demands. At this time, the handsome guy also arrived at the bank under the guidance of the black agent. John told a subordinate to bring the handsome guy's daughter out. As long as he could help complete the bank transfer, he would release his daughter immediately. The helpless handsome guy could only obediently comply. Very quickly, $9.5 billion were transferred to the designated account. Z kept his promise and let both father and daughter go. But just as they were about to step out of the bank, the account that had just successfully received the transfer quickly returned to zero. The handsome guy risked his life to knock down two subordinates, successfully letting his daughter escape, while he was subdued by the robbers again. John furiously pulled out a gun to threaten him. However, the handsome guy was not panicked at all. He had set up a 1024-bit encryption program for this money. Every minute, it would be shifted to a different account. If John dared to kill him, they would fail completely and not get a single penny. The handsome guy also stated his condition: as long as John released all the hostages on the spot, he would transfer the money to the designated account. However, John had also prepared beforehand. He ordered his subordinates to bring Ginger out. Then he used a noose to hang her up. It turned out John had long discovered Ginger was an undercover agent for the DEA. Seeing Ginger about to suffocate, the handsome guy had to do as Z asked and perform the transfer again. He successfully transferred back the entire $9.5 billion. At this time, Z ordered his subordinates to let Ginger down. But in the next second, he shot her through the heart. Seeing Ginger's body lying on the floor, the handsome guy completely could not believe his eyes. With no time to grieve, he and the others were escorted onto the bus the robbers had prepared. To prevent risks, they demanded the police clear the airspace within a 5 kilometers radius. A crazy subordinate even prepared a rocket launcher. Very quickly, the bus carrying the robbers left the bank under the escort of many police cars. At the same time, the police had set up a dragnet at the airport. Even the pilot was a SWAT agent in disguise. As long as the robbers arrived at the airport as planned, they would certainly not escape disaster. Unexpectedly, the police's perfect plan failed again when the robbers' bus reached the entrance to the airport highway. They accelerated straight toward the commercial center instead. The black agent immediately shouted, but the robbers did not respond and instead opened the hatch on the roof of the bus. At this moment, a heavy transport helicopter suddenly appeared in the air above the bus. The robbers pulled the cables, carefully locking and hooking them to the bus roof. A few seconds later, the bus weighing more than 30 tons was lifted into the air by the helicopter. The FBI, having cleared the airspace beforehand, could only watch helplessly as the robbers escaped from the sky. But the joy was short-lived. A sudden change in airflow caused the bus suspended in the air to crash straight into a nearby building. The cables at the rear of the bus also snapped. The bus, with only 2 cables remaining, immediately stood vertically. The huge impact instantly threw a robber and a hostage out of the window. Fortunately, in the end, the helicopter successfully landed the bus on the roof of the building planned beforehand. And at this time, another helicopter was ready to take off. The robbers then turned off the bomb detonators one by one. Z, with an arrogant look, bid farewell to the handsome guy, then he and his subordinates climbed onto the prepared plane. Ginger's death was still vivid before his eyes. The handsome guy absolutely would not allow this devil to escape his sight like that. So he opened the ammo box the robbers left on the bus. He quickly loaded a warhead into the rocket launcher. Then he aimed straight at the helicopter that had just taken off and successfully fired the missile before the black agent could arrive. Along with a massive, violent explosion, John and his subordinates met their end. The next day, the black agent took the handsome guy to the morgue to identify the body. Although the body was blown to bits, DNA testing confirmed the deceased was Z. At this time, the black agent's subordinate reported that the DEA had no record of Ginger, and her body was not in the morgue either. How could a body disappear for no reason? Images from 2 days ago quickly flashed through the handsome guy's mind. It turned out Z never got on the plane. The body found on the plane was just the corpse he had seen in the wine cellar earlier. At this moment, a strange smile appeared on the handsome guy's face, but he did not tell the truth to the black agent because he had also received $10 million from John. A week later, a brunette woman suddenly appeared at a private bank in Monte Carlo. She transferred the $9.5 billion evenly from the account to 10 different accounts. And this woman was Ginger, the one John had shot through the heart. After completing the transfer, Ginger went to a yacht anchored at the dock, and the person waiting for her was Z with his hair cut short. It turned out Ginger was not a DEA undercover agent at all. All of this was just a script Z had designed beforehand, and this huge sum of money was not spent wastefully by them. In the following 6 months, dozens of terrorists who had escaped punishment were all assassinated mysteriously one by one. Swordfish, 2001, is not only a classic action movie about hackers but also a top-notch display of manipulation and illusion. The core of the film lies in John using a large-scale bank robbery as a misdirection, hiding the real plan to steal the DEA's $9.5 billion black fund. The work skillfully integrated high-tech elements, eye-pleasing action, and continuous plot twists. Especially the truth about the character Ginger and John's fate makes the audience constantly question what they are witnessing. The film poses deep questions about moral boundaries and using violence to suppress violence in the name of a greater goal, transforming John from a robber into a mysterious avenging hero, thereby asserting that in the underworld, truth is just a tool to achieve the ultimate goal. The value of a movie lies in its reputation, while the value of a movie review lies in the feeling. The story ends here today. Thank you for watching the movie. What did you think of this film?